Welcome to Paint Ed. PCA provides painting contractors with connections they need to grow their business. To find out more and to become a member, visit pcapainted.org. Find more great content just like this on PCA Overdrive. A subscription to the platform is included with membership. For all you non-members out there, sign up for a free trial. PCA Overdrive is available on the App Store and Google Play. This episode is brought to you by 3M, Breakthrough Academy, and Painter Marketing Pros.
In order to really fully create awareness in all these areas in your life, in your business, you have to have a dashboard or a method to track them and to benchmark it against the goals you've set or the industry benchmarks in your business in this case. But really, just seeing that actual result can be eye-opening enough to help influence decisions in your life and business. Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host here for the podcast. I hope that your 2026 is off to a great start. We've already made it past what is known as Quitter's Day, which is the second Friday in January every year is known as Quitter's Day, because that's typically the point where people quit and give up on their New Year's goals. So if you're listening to this, maybe you made a goal to listen to a podcast every day. Congrats, you've already made it past that. I want to bring awareness to you today about the role that awareness plays in your life and business. Yes, you can see what I did there. Not ashamed, thoroughly enjoying the multi-use of that word. But I think a lot of times we can say that we are aware of what's going on in our fitness life, our finances, our business. But I would honestly ask, are you truly aware? I feel like it's easy for us to say, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly this, right? And I'll give you some pretty good examples here that I'll call myself out on happily. So if that's not enticing to keep listening, I don't know what is. But data is a pretty black and white thing to measure on. And what I mean by that is you either do it or you don't. You're either on track or you're not. You're either hitting your goal or you're not, right? So when there's things that are tangible, I know not everything will be, right? Being a better father, being a better spouse isn't a tangible thing, but I always encourage people to put goals that say, this is what it's going to look like to be better with that. Maybe it is a date night, twice a month with a spouse. Maybe it is one-on-one time with your kids, maybe it is not snapping at them. I think you could kind of measure that in a way. But really we can say, yes, I'm aware, but I don't know that we're always as intent in understanding that as we should be. So today I want to share some areas that you should be aware in your business, but also in your personal life, and how just a simple concept like awareness can provide huge results for you here in 2026. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast. We talked last week about New Year's resolutions and why psychologically they don't always work, believe it or not. We talked about tracking things and measuring them, and that being one of the two keys to success to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve here in 2026. But I want to go a step deeper today and just talk about the concept of awareness. And here's where I want to start this story off. I want to share the eye-opening experience I've recently had with tracking my food. Okay. I feel like I've almost put this episode together as like my peeling back my layers the last few months and figuring this out and kind of the journey I'm on with this. But I wanted to share it because I see a lot of relevant perspectives here in this word awareness. And I want to give you some examples that hopefully can be helpful for you leaving here to stop and go, okay, hold on, let me track my awareness on this. But for starters, I've known for a while that my health and fitness was terrible. That wasn't a shock. I didn't wake up one day and discover that. I knew it was getting worse. But what I told myself, because what I thought was the case, hence what I said in the intro, sometimes we think we know, but we really don't know, is I knew a lot of it stemmed from my food intake. Yes, I need to get in a better habit of working out and, being physically active and stuff like that. But really, I think for me, I would say that's like a third of it. The other 2/3 of it is literally just what I consume. And I can make 100 excuses under the sun. It doesn't matter. But what I told myself was that what I ate wasn't necessarily the problem, that I would eat somewhat healthy for the most part. Okay. If you've ever been around me, I'm going to put that disclaimer there, somewhat healthy for the most part. But what I knew in my head, and what I've realized in previous times of tracking my food intake, was that I would just eat too much portion, too much. I'd go back for seconds, that type of stuff, right? So that was kind of like what I thought my awareness of my food was. So fast forward, and one of the things I'm doing this year, I have an accountability partner. His name's John McFarland. If you've ever met John, you understand why I picked John to be my accountability partner. We talked about it last week. We started here this morning. John will call me out when I'm not doing what I say I'm going to do. And that's what I need in somebody right now. I just need somebody that I literally have to report to every day of, did I hit my macro goal? Macros being food intake, and did I work out yesterday? Here's my goals for the week. Just hold me accountable. And I'm doing the same for him. But what I realized is I started a few days ahead of time before we really started. My New Year's was kind of on the 12th, last Monday, coming back from Minnesota and everything. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to give myself grace. 12th, everything new starts. I know that's kind of counterintuitive to what I talked about before. But again, there's been steps leading up to this. It wasn't just I wake up one day and start 17 different things. So I started tracking food leading up to this. I promise I'm getting to the story. I think I eat healthy. I just need to track and eat less, right? Wrong. I start tracking just the simple things that you really don't think about. I understand deep fried foods and cheese. I understand really unhealthy things. I understand if I go to Red Robin, which I love because I used to work there, that I'm going to consume 1,500 calories. I understood that. What I didn't understand was the freaking egg cup that I eat every morning, the Kraken eggs, right? Just put an egg in there, put the packet ingredients in there, stir it up, microwave it. Great. Wrong. Half of what I'm supposed to take in for fat for the entire day, right? Calories, not terrible. Protein, good. Fat, terrible. I start realizing after one day of tracking food, how much fat I've been consuming. And it's things like that I'm like, oh, this isn't deep fried. I'm not, eating French toast sticks and sausage and 4 eggs. It's just, you think oh, this isn't bad. Wrong, right? So I had to share that because we can think we're doing well with something. We can think we know what the issue is, but until you really start tracking and creating awareness about it, you have a whole different perspective on it, right? It took me 15 minutes to eat breakfast this morning because I was just looking at what is in everything that I usually would eat. And okay, great, we're just going to do a protein shake, a small bowl of cereal, because that was the safest bet, right? So what are some things that we need to be personally aware of maybe in our lives that can kind of help? And again, I want to rattle off a handful of things here. And then again, I'll get into the business things after this. I just mentioned food intake. If you are on any sort of a health and fitness journey this year and you are not tracking your food, I have personally realized that I don't think it matters what you do. Okay, we have to be aware. I'm currently in a spot, again, I love accountability on here, where I'm giving myself grace that I just need to hit my macro goal 5 out of 7 days a week. If I can just do that, and on the other 2 days, not just completely blow it and go 500 carbs over or something crazy, give myself grace, right? I know that there's going to be 2 days a week that just things don't go as planned. That's okay right now, okay? Track your food. Understand, just even if you don't have the goal set, right? I did a bunch of research on ChatGPT, an app that a couple good friends of mine told me about, Macros First. And I'm trying to work on the macro side of things, but even if you just don't have a goal, just track it, just become aware of it. I think that in and of itself would make you go, holy crap, I need to make some changes. Okay. Another thing, alcohol intake, right? If you do drink, I have no problem with that. I consume alcohol. I don't hide that. But are you actually aware of how much you consume, how often, any of those things? Okay. That can be a great thing to just create a little habit tracker on, because it's really easy to tell yourself. And maybe I'm speaking from personal experience and previous stages of life or whatever. But it's just really easy to be like, oh yeah, I have a beer every day. Well, you start looking at that and you're like, oh, I've had a beer every day for, 2 months. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but does that tie into other areas of life, right? Is there a dependency thing? Like, there's a lot of things. So just being aware of that can be a really good thing. Finances, okay? Being aware of how much debt that you have is a whole. My wife and I will never forget at one point when we got serious about our finances many, many, many years ago, over a decade ago, we sat down and we added this all up. And we kind of had a epiphany of how did we get here, right? Mortgage, okay, yeah, there's kind of an asset to offset it, at least for the total cost of it, or what it's worth. My wife had, a lot of student loans coming out of PA school. We just bought her a brand new car because we thought that's just what you're supposed to do, right? You get a new job, you're a grown up, you get a new car. It was a $30,000 Nissan Rogue, if that even. We just sat down and we added all this up. I'm like, how did we get here? And then we changed a lot of stuff and put a plan together and just wiped it all out. Understanding what your net worth is. This is a goal that I'm working through here. My wife and I are doing our weekly planning meeting annual planning meeting coming up this weekend. So I'm kind of getting some stuff done so we can have our goals set as a family heading into the year. I know we're a little late behind it. Give me some grace with sicknesses and holidays and then me being gone for a week. Again, I've just accepted it. It's okay. But I wouldn't we're going to set a goal for what our net worth, right? Which is, what are your assets? What's the liabilities you have, which thankfully isn't much these days. And we want to set a goal for how much we want to increase our net worth this year, just as a total, as a whole, right? Maybe it's a savings goal, right? And that's another goal that we've got this year. We want to save X amount of dollars to put towards real estate and maybe make a first real estate purchase next year. So being aware, right? How much debt do you have? What is your net worth? What is your savings? Can be a really good thing. Again, and you can create some goals around it. A couple other things to be personally aware of. Date nights with your spouse. Okay. We were really good in Q1 last year. Christina and I were. Because we said, beginning of the year in our annual planning meeting, we said we're going to go on 2 date nights every month. And so what did we do? We sat down and at that annual planning meeting, we'll probably do the same thing this weekend, we put date nights in our calendar for 2 months straight. And I think we probably nailed 5 of the 6 of them. I think there was one, again, some sicknesses and some travel kind of threw things off. And then we sucked and we didn't track it. We weren't aware of it. And then at one point, I don't even know when it was, we stopped and we're you're getting to that point with your spouse where you're getting really good at boxing with each other almost, right? It's just you're something's off here. And you're oh, when's the last time we had a date night? We couldn't even remember. Okay. So this would be something I would encourage you to track, create something to see this, whatever it is for you guys. 2 a month for us. We try to do 1 just us, maybe 1 with friends, or 2 just us. That's fine. But at least 1 just us. And then 1 can be out with, a group of people or friends or something like that. 2 a month for us is a game changer for us, especially with small kids. And that's doable for us. And thankfully we've got help with our parents and stuff. One-on-one time with your kids. This is a goal that we're trying to get set. Moving forward as our kids get to be a little bit older and either we together or, each of us one-on-one does something with them at least once a month. And I know that'll increase as time goes on and they get to be older, right? So again, are you aware of that? How much time that you're spending with your kids? For me, another one, and I'm just kind of throwing some different ideas out there, days in the Bible app every year. I mentioned last week about some streaks that I had going with it and stuff. And, so just again, I'm creating awareness around this to just really see, right? Because it's easy to say oh yeah, I spend time in the Bible. And then you look and you're no, I've only been in there half the days this year. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, if the year before it was 25%, you're making progress, right? But if you're trying to tell yourself that you're in there almost every day, you're not, right? So those are just some different things. Again, look at what your goals are for the year. Look at what you want to achieve this year. What are things you need to create awareness of in your personal life? Let's talk business. All right. There's some, they're KPIs at the end of the day, key performance indicators, but they're things that creating awareness give you a really good understanding of your business. Okay. The first thing I'm going to throw off is what is your monthly overhead spend that's not labor and materials, but but it's every penny that goes out the door outside of your cost of goods sold, your labor, material, equipment rental, etc. Right? What do you pay, any other overhead positions you have? What is your, monthly on average expenses for insurance, marketing, food, office rent, vehicle payments, like all the other things, right? Coaching, bookkeeping. What is that number? Because sometimes just bringing awareness to that and go, holy crap, we have $15,000 a month of overhead. Like, for some of you guys, that might be a lot. For some of you guys, that's not much, right? So again, this is where it's dependent case by case, but being aware of that is really helpful. And it's also really good to be able to plan. Another thing, understanding your net profit by month based on production. So basically taking your gross profit on all your jobs that you did that month, subtracting out that monthly overhead I just talked about, and then from there going down and how much did you pay yourself? Again, any other overhead positions, how much for tax savings, what was the bottom line net that the company made that month, okay? Understanding your closing rate. How many jobs do you win out of every 10 that you do, right? What's the percentage? Don't measure it just off tens, but if you've done 100 estimates, how many of them have you closed, right? That's really good to know to be able to benchmark against the industry. Other contractors, where should you be at? Okay, things that can affect that, your type of marketing. If you have to do a lot of paid marketing, lead generation, things like that, we can expect your closing rate to be a little bit lower than somebody that is like 100% repeat referral, organic network, that type of stuff. So understand that like there's going to be some fluctuations in there. Another thing that's great to be aware of is your cash cushion. How much cash do you just have on hand, free and clear? Say free and clear, meaning what's in your bank account. If everything was paid out, everything that was owed to you was collected, how much money do you have? Okay, being aware of this is a really key thing to understanding how you grow a business. Another thing, your marketing statistics. Being aware with data on what your ROI is across anything you're spending money on for marketing is hugely important to growing your business, okay, to understanding your business, right? It's really easy to say like, yeah, man, I feel like we get a ton of leads from Facebook. Great. What is your actual ROI? How much have you spent? Include management fees of any companies you're paying to do stuff. And what have you sold from it? What's the return on investment? Okay. I understand maybe month by month things will change. That's why I want to look at it quarterly and over the year, or over the last 6 months. What does that look like? You can say you feel like, but until you show me the tangible data and we benchmark it with the industry, is that good? Is that bad? I don't really care what you feel. Just being honest. Okay. That'd be like me texting John each morning at 6:30. He's getting a text like, did I hit my goal? Did I work out yesterday? Right. That'd be like me saying like, hey John, I felt like I did really good yesterday. Awesome. Right. I appreciate it, because he'd be like, send me a screenshot of your macros first dashboard, and then we'll talk. Right. So let me see the marketing stats. Another thing, if you have estimators, okay, you need to have awareness of what are they actually doing? What is their closing rate? How much have they sold every month or over a period of time, right? It's real easy that, again, without structure, without systems, without accountability, without a routine, it's really easy for them to just do their job, right? And have no idea, and all of a sudden realize like, oh, you only sold $500,000 in a year. That's happened to somebody before, because they weren't paying attention, they weren't tracking their stuff, and they stopped and evaluated and realized their estimator only sold $500,000 where they're supposed to sell $1 million at minimum. Okay, track it. Project managers. If you have PMs, you should be tracking what is their gross profit on the jobs that they, oversee in PM. What percentage of your jobs are hitting your gross profit target? Okay. Here's why I view those two things very differently. And honestly, I think I care more about the second one. Is you can look at their gross profit on the jobs they PM, right? But one or two really good jobs will skew that in a really favorable way. At the same time, one or two really bad jobs will also skew that in a negative way, okay? So looking at their total and saying, oh, great, your average gross profit on your jobs is 52%. Our goal is 50%. Great job. But like one $60,000 job hit a 65% GP, and maybe there's been a lot of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 jobs that keep hitting 40%, right? But overall, the average looks great. So that's why in our dashboards and our profit sheet, we have this metric built in. It's percentage of jobs that hit that 50% target or whatever your target is. I want to know what percentage of your jobs are hitting our goals. Okay. It takes the skewing out of it. Again, things that we can, look at. Obviously, at the end of the day, if your goal is to do 1.5 million this year with a 50% profit target and you hit 52%, that's great. We're on track. You're going to hit your goal this year. But we want to get a little bit more micro to identify the problems in the business, right? Another thing I want you to track for project managers is percentage of callbacks, okay? You can define a callback however you want. For most people, it's we've done a final walkthrough and we've left, right? Or there was something done and we've left. Again, you define it based on your process and how you do things. You should always do a final walkthrough at the end, whether it's your crew lead or your PM or you as the owner. But however you want to define a callback is fine with me, just something that you should track and there should be a benchmark against. The other thing I want you to have awareness of, how much are you producing every month? How much are you selling every month? How many estimates are you doing every month? And then also how many leads are you generating every month? If you can be aware of those things, even if you maybe aren't doing a lot with that data now, it'll be hugely helpful in planning over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. Here's what I want to wrap up with. Okay. In order to really fully create awareness in all these areas in your life, in your business, you have to have a dashboard or a method to track them and to benchmark it against the goals you've set or the industry benchmarks in your business in this case. But really just seeing that actual result can be eye-opening enough to help influence decisions in your life and business. Okay. What I mean by that is me tracking my macros was enough in and of itself, not benchmarking it against a goal, not saying, oh, I'm exceeding or I'm falling short. Just doing that alone was eye-opening to influence decisions that I need to make to be who I want to be. Okay. The same way that tracking your closing rate, your marketing stats, your profitability, your cash on hand, cash cushion, will influence the decisions that you need to make in your business each and every day to be who you want to be and to have the business you want to have here in 2026. Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.
Paint Ed podcasts are produced by the Painting Contractors Association and are made possible by members and industry partners. To find out more about the upcoming educational opportunities or for more information about joining the PCA, visit pcapainted.org.